Hello, I'm Anthony Hobbs, and this is going to be the review of Nuts in May. And I try to make these reviews as accurate as I possibly can. One of my previous reviews was all about Cluedo, the board game, or Clue. Yeah, the 1985 film is called Clue, and I say it's based on the board game done by Waddingtons. It wasn't. It was technically Cluedo was originally done by Parker Brothers. Okay. Waddingtons is board games, but no, Clue is done by Parker Brothers. Anyway, this review, Nuts in May, is unique, unlike any review I've ever done before, because I've reviewed movies and TV shows, but I've never reviewed a TV movie. Okay, so it's something a bit different. The thing about TV movies, they did have them in the mid 60s, but they were few and far between. But then in the 70s, in England and America, TV movies were on the rise. They were starting to get more and more popular. Why have the palaver of going to the cinema to see a movie when you can see one at home? Yeah. But the thing about a TV movie is it's the target audience isn't all the countries of all the world. No, just one specific country. So it relates to that specific audience. In other words, Nuts and May is British, very British, yeah. But okay, I'll start right at the beginning. My earliest memory of Nuts in May, I remember Mum watching it on TV and really looking forward to it, yeah. And then I saw it on a recording of it, and I missed the first 10 minutes, yeah. So I didn't know the whole picture, so to speak, yeah. And, yes, I suppose I better say this first. I was 10 years old, it was the summer holidays, I was reading a book called The Robber Hots and Plots, of a kid's story. And at one point in the story, an old lady has a magic coffee grinder that plays the song Nuts in May. And I thought, oh, how apt, yeah. Oh, and I was in a tent at the time in the front garden. It was a bit of fun, sleeping outside because it was the summer holidays. Yeah, so the theme of tents and being on holiday. Yeah, Nuts in May, yes. Whenever they did show it on the telly, it'd be holiday time. Yeah, the theme of being on holiday, yeah. But as I said before, I missed the beginning, like the first 10, 12 minutes. And I didn't know that Keith Pratt and Candice Marie were married. No, I thought they were just good friends. Because there's no chemistry between them at all, you know. When I found out they were married, I thought, oh, well, okay, that's a bit odd. Because, well, for a start, Keith and Candice Marie, they never call each other darling, sugar, or sweetie. No, just always call each other by their first names. There's no sweet nothings. No one ever says anything romantic. It's all very matter of fact. That's why I assumed they were just good friends, yeah. And, Nuts in May, TV movie directed by Mike Leigh, who went on to direct more TV films and some films that went in the cinema. And he's directed a lot of films that have Alison Steadman in them, yeah. Alison Steadman went on to do lots of great things because of the success of Nuts in May. And the actor that played Keith Pratt, he does loads of British TV work after this, yeah. Now, Nuts in May, it's a fairly straightforward plot. It's about like a middle-class couple. They drive around in a Morris Minor and goes on holiday in Dorset, yeah. And the film has nothing to do with the song Nuts in May. That's like a kind of nursery rhyme. Here we go gathering nuts in May. No, nothing to do with that. It's a play on words because they're both a bit peculiar. They're both nuts and they're on holiday in May. Nuts in May. Each one of them is a nut. Yeah, nuts in May, yeah. And I've lived in Dorset all my life. I never really think of it as a holiday town. Yeah, it's just my home, you know. But apparently, all over England, it is a very popular place for people to go on holiday. Yeah, okay. And yes, there's lots of nice open countryside, lots of farmland, lots of peace and quiet, yeah. Dorset does have modern towns as well, and we do have really big cities as well. Yeah. But the stereotypical image of Dorset is lots of open countryside, lots of peace and quiet. Yes, that is true, but we have moved with the times. We do have up-to-date towns as well, yeah. Anyway, so they're on holiday at the place. Yeah, there are nice sights to see, like Lulworth Cove, Durdledore, Corfe Castle, yeah. Anyway, and the thing is, Keith Pratt and Candice Marie, they don't seem odd or peculiar at first. In fact, the first time I saw Nuts in May, I didn't know it was a comedy, and just a regular, almost like a documentary type story, yeah. And they both seem normal when you first meet them, but every now and again they say something odd or peculiar or inappropriate, yeah. So the comedy is a bit more subtle, yeah. And we don't have slapstick. We don't have people tripping over wires or falling into a puddle or getting a custard pie in the face. Some comedy has really over-the-top bizarre stuff happen. This doesn't. It's very down-to-earth, very grounded, but very funny. So it's quite clever how you can make a very grounded story, but make it very funny as well, yeah. And Keith Pratt, I suppose I describe him as a very nice, kind and thoughtful man, provided he gets his way all the time. Yeah, he cracks if he doesn't get his way. Yeah. And because he's like a kind of social worker, and he's used to ordering people about getting his way. I think he comes from Surrey, I think that's right. Candice Marie works in a toy shop, and she's quite childlike, yeah. However, sometimes she doesn't like being treated like a child. Like when Keith Pratt goes to see the woman in charge of the campsite and tells her to stay in the car like a child. And she says, I want to come with you, Keith. Yeah. Anyway, as the story progresses, sometimes they're quite hippie-like, the way they play the guitar and the banjo and sing, I wonder where we'll go, she said, I wonder where she'll go. Yeah, they very hippie-like and very peace and lovely. Look at that lovely little robin up there. Isn't that lovely? Yeah. And isn't that lovely, Keith? Yes, Canterbury says that a few times. Isn't that lovely, Keith? Yeah. Can you imagine what it must have been like living in a castle? It must have been lovely. Okay. So they seem very lovey-dovey, but when they see the farmer and they ask if they can buy some of his fresh milk that's just come from the cow, he says, no chance, that's illegal. You see, it's legal for me to drink my own milk, or members of my family to drink it, but I'm not allowed to sell it, not allowed to make any money, yeah. And Keith Pratt says, well, I think that milk is perfectly healthy. I'd like to buy some. I'm the judge of whether or not it's perfectly healthy to drink. And the farmer's like, no, you're not the judge of right and wrong. No, it's illegal. If it hasn't gone through the test, it's not legal. You can't just prance in here and become the judge of the law. No, that's not how it works. Yeah. Yes, because of Keith Pratt's arrogance, he doesn't realise sometimes he says things that are inappropriate. And, when they're going to go on a big walk, and he tells Canterbury about it, and she says, how long is the walk? Oh, not very long. How long, Keith? I want to know. 5 or 6 miles. I hope it's not more than 5 or 6 miles, Keith. The next day, she says, how long was that big walk? Just under 14 miles, So it's like, oh dear. And Keith is very nonchalant about upsetting other people. As long as I'm happy, that's all that matters. Well, no, that's not really how it works. No. Then they meet the character of Ray, who's training to be a PE teacher. They get off on the wrong foot. At first, they have an argument with him because he's playing his radio and say, we've come from the city. We want to get away from the hustle and the bustle of the modern world. And that radio is disturbing the peace. And he says, well, it's not against the rules. I'm allowed to play a radio. If you don't like it, you go off somewhere else. Yeah. Plus, Ray is all on his own. He's camping alone. So he's no one to talk to, so he needs a radio. There's two different sides to the coin. Sometimes it's a matter of opinion what's right or wrong, yeah. And but then they make friends of Ray afterwards, yeah. So that he's not so bad when you get to know him, yeah. They give him a lift to the campsite, yeah. When they meet him by chance when they've gone somewhere else. And Canterbury quite likes him, yeah. In fact, likes him a bit too much. She shows him her pebble collection and everything, and they talk about geology and holidays and stuff like that. Keith goes off for a walk, and he spies on them with binoculars, sees them chatting a lot, and gets very jealous. Now, at the age of 10, I thought this was ridiculous. I can understand a man being jealous if another man is flirting with his wife. I can understand him getting jealous if another man is dancing with his wife. But Keith gets jealous because another man is slightly more interesting than him. Well, that's ridiculous. That's absurd. At the age of 10, I could see that was inappropriate, yeah. And when Canterbury says, yeah, Ray's a really nice guy and he's studying to do PE at college. He wants to be a PE teacher. But he's also studying another subject he doesn't want to do at all. Why is that? I don't know. Let's ask Ray, shall we? Let's ask Ray. Come along. This must be great, yeah. And says, Ray, excuse me, I'm just curious about something. Why are you doing one subject you want to do and studying another subject you don't want to do at all? It's a requirement of the college. Oh, it's a requirement of the college. Oh, of course. How silly of me. Wow, that's fascinating. I could listen to this all day. Why don't you come up to our tent and talk to Canterbury all about it? Yes, he has outbursts. Yes, Keith Pratt, yes. If he doesn't get his way, he gets volatile. Not exactly violent, but very verbally abusive. Very, yeah. And however, a line has been crossed. Later on in the story, he says to Cansmere, "I'm going for another walk. Do you want to go on one?" And she says, "No, I don't want to go on any more walks with you. You were horrible to Ray. He's really upset. If you don't apologise to him, I don't want to go on any more trips with you." So yeah, a line has been crossed. Yes, Keith has gone too far. Yes, and so yeah, he's got to put this right. Yeah, so he does indeed apologise very sincerely to Ray. Yeah, and then afterwards, Cansbury says, "Why don't we invite Ray round for a cup of tea?" And he's like, "We've only got 2 cups." Well, so Cansbury says, "You have to bring a cup," and then when he comes over, Keith says, "Oh, Ray, hello. Sorry, we've only got 2 cups. We weren't expecting any visitors, you know." So sometimes he's mean, but in a polite way. Yeah. And then there's the bit when they ask Ray, do you eat meat? He says, "Yeah, I eat meat. It's great. We think it's inhumane to eat animals. It's wrong. It's morally wrong." What they bring the subject up for in the first place then? Then they ask him to join in one of their songs. He's not very keen. But they keep going on and on about, so okay, he joins in the song, he sings a line, but very lackluster because he's embarrassed, he doesn't want to sing it yet. In other words, it's a bit like you can order a child to sing a song, do something they don't want to do. You can't order an adult to do something they don't want to do. That's very different. But they do. Cansbury and Keith, they sort of talk to other people a bit like they're children. Like, we know what's best for you and all that. Well, no, you can't treat an adult like a child, yeah. Then, about halfway through the film, 2 Brummies arrive on a motorbike, so a young couple. They're like the exact opposite of Keith and Cansbury. They can be quite vulgar, quite rowdy, yes, being silly and irresponsible and everything. Yeah, don't care too much for conventional rules. But Ray gets along with them very well, yeah, okay. And Ray is quite a tolerant person because the Brummie bloke always calls him John. All right, John, like that, you know. Because that's a very generic everyman name, yeah. But he never bothers to find out Ray's real name. But in spite of that, yes, he gets along with the Brummies better than he does with Keith and Cansbury. And then afterwards, when they've been out to the pub, been a bit drunk and everything, and the 2 Brummies, I think they're nicknames. You never find out their real names. They're called like Finger and Honky. Anyway, they're getting their tent in bed together, start shouting and laughing very loudly. Keith asks them to be quiet twice. They know quiet, you know. So he gets up and shouts at them, goes into their tent with a big flashlight and says, "You know, this is a tent. The walls of a tent are thin. I can hear everything you're saying. Now be quiet." Yeah. So that's another example of one of his outbursts. Yeah. And then afterwards, Finger tries to make an open fire, which is against the rules. But Keith says everything's very matter-of-fact. You must abide by the rules. Then they have a fight that involves 2 big sticks. And then Keith wants to leave. So he says to Mrs. Beale, or was it Miss Beale? Yeah, "I'm going to leave now, yeah. But I've only been here half the days that I paid for. Only 5 days. So I want my money back for the rest of the days." And Miss Beale says, "Well, there's nothing wrong with the facilities, so therefore you can't demand a refund. That's all by the book. It's all matter of fact." So Keith Pratt orders other people to do everything by the book, but he himself is allowed to make an exception to the rules when it suits him. Well, that's a bit hypocritical, yeah. So in other words, yes, they're a bit of a lost cause, the Pratts. They can't seem to get along well with other people. They do try, you know, yeah. But they're like moralistic bullies. They give each other moral lectures of right and wrong. And yeah, and because they want everyone to have the same opinion as them, you know. Well, that can lead to conflict, lead to arguing, yeah. Oh, speaking of breaking the rules, at the end of the film, they go to the farm of the store and say, "Can we camp in your field for the night? We've looked everywhere for a new place. We can't find anywhere." And the farmer's, "Well, not really. No, I don't have a license. This isn't a campsite." And so it's just for one night. Can you make an exception to the rules? So he agrees, yeah, okay. It's okay to break the rules under extreme circumstances, you know, yeah. Ironic that Keith can break the rules when it suits him, yeah. But for me, when Keith and Cansbury are in that field, it's sort of symbolic. It's showing how the only place they can have a holiday and not cause any trouble is if they're completely alone. Yeah, that's the only way they can't cause any arguments, yeah. And the bit earlier when they're on Lulworth Cove Beach, and Keith says to Cansbury, "What are you doing?" I'm picking up a pebble. Well, you shouldn't do that, you know. Why not? Well, if everybody did that, there'd be no beach left. Don't be ridiculous, Keith. That phrase sums it up. Don't be ridiculous, Keith. He can't see rhyme nor reason, you know. Yeah, he's very fixed views, won't change his mind, very stubborn, yeah. So yes, it's a very funny TV film, and it raises a lot of issues about human behaviour. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm Anthony Hobbs, and I'm never bored.